second lap. Well, it was a horrible scrappy first lap and first corner here, wasn't it, for Morelli? So the empty helmets MSI squad trying to diagnose some of the issues which saw Hakim Danish get the meatball flag. Now try and fix up that motorcycle and getting back into the action as Sal Mellor's lining up a move here as he on Peroni. Long run down into the braking zone. Favourite overtaking hotspot this here in Balaton Park though, but Peroni just too good on the brakes into 5.
Yeah, oh, that's Pratama going wide. That's not him serving the long lap penalty, by the way, because the long lap loop is further around the circuit. He took a long lap of his own there and dropped places. Crucial ground lost. Down to 10th spot.
He just killed all of his momentum, didn't he, going through that sector. Munoz we saw sweep ahead of Pratama, so David Munoz then now up into 9th place. Quickest rider on circuit on that last lap was Quiles with a 146.156. That was a thousandth of a second quicker than David Almantra. Pratama then launches himself into the long lap penalty loop. He came into it in 10th place, just behind Munoz. Let's see where he slots in. He slots in behind Ryusai Yamanaka, so Pratama's 17th on the road.
Huge damage done. I'm not sure whether that would have been the strategy to come through on that lap, but once he got dropped into a pack, thought I might as well cut my losses, take the long lap now and go racing from there. Have to give a shout out to Cormac Buchanan on the one remaining Code Motorsports KTM. He's up into the top 10. He's just passed O'Gorman and of course Pratama with his long lap.
Danish with a patched up empty helmets MSI machine. He's heading back out on circuit. This is getting Buriram vibes here, isn't it? At the moment, Almanza and Quiles are streaking clear at the front of this Grand Prix. They once again exchange fastest laps of this race. It was a thousandth of a second splitting them on the last lap. It's just 8,000ths of a second on that previous lap. And their pace is just too hot for the rest to handle. 46 flats from Almanza and Quiles. Peroni in 3rd, and Sal Mellor did 46 fours. But that gap as Sal Mellor, well, he can sense this, can't he? He tries to show his front wheel through Peroni and going through turn 4. But Sal Mellor clearly feels he's faster than Peroni. But he doesn't want to see Almanza and Quiles check out of the front. Yeah,
and of course, he's got to make sure it's a clean move anyway. But particularly when you're up against your teammate, the two Tech 3 KTM side by side, here they come into the corner. This time it looks like Sal Mellor has gone through, looking to become the first Finn in Moto3 for what, the better part of 2 decades to finish on a podium.
This is awesome, isn't it, by Rico Sal Mellor. His only point scoring finish in the last 3 Grand Prix came courtesy of a promotion because of Adrian Fernandez's disqualification in Catalonia. So now with a bit of clear tarmac ahead of him, what can Sal Mellor do about hunting down the Almanza Quiles battle directly ahead of him? This is on that long run down into turn 5. Textbook move this. One of the best overtaking opportunities you will get here in Balaton Park, and he picked that opportunity perfectly there. Lovely that by Sal Mellor.
He's a second behind Quiles, second to 3rd, so that's the kind of gap if Sal Mellor does have more pace, but he's got to try and close in. The Tech 3 pair, they've then got a second and a quarter back to the 2 Red Bull KTM IO teammates of Uriarte and Carpe, who run 5th and 6th. Munoz has now clambered his way up to 7th.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a recovery that by Munoz. Fair play to him. Morelli has made no further progress really. He was 14th on that first lap after careering into the heavy braking zone for turn 1. That's where he is still stuck at the moment. Almanza then, a 145.897. He's dragging Quiles along for the ride as well. Almanza and Quiles, the only riders now that in the 45. It's a hot pace at the front of this Grand Prix.
Carpe takes Uriarte for 5th, and having passed Peroni, Sal Mellor immediately pumped in his personal best lap of the race on a 146.1. That was only a quarter of a second slower than the pair ahead of him, and of course he spent the first sector behind his teammate. So we'll now find out what kind of pace Sal Mellor has and whether he can drag his teammate back into this leading battle.
Carpe and Munoz are going to be kicking themselves for their Q2 disasters. Quiles just showing his front wheel to Almanza on that sweep down to turn 5. Carpe and Munoz really are paying dearly for their pretty problematic Q2 yesterday. 17th and 18th on the grid. They are well and truly in the hunt now for the top 6. Carpe is at 5th. Munoz a couple of places back in 7th.
Carpe did a 46 flat on the last lap, which was the 3rd fastest lap on track behind the 2 that we're looking at, Almanza and Quiles. So he clearly does have podium pace. He's, as mentioned, about 1.2 adrift of the old Tech 3 battle for P3.
Well, Max Quiles has led every single Grand Prix so far this year. He hasn't as yet been able to get on top of David Almanza at the front of this battle, but he does look pretty comfortable. Kelso's just taken Buchanan for 12th place. Australia versus New Zealand further down the field.
Salmela is closing this down a little bit. He's now down to within 0.8 of Max Quiles, as Almanza's trying to put a bit of a spurt on here, trying to get a bit of a gap up over Quiles. That's much easier said than done, but I think this is going to be a pretty tasty lap, this, from Rico Salmela, and of course Peroni still locked on to his rear tyre. That has definitely closed in. In fact, it was a slower lap for Almanza and Quiles. They did 46.8. They were nearly a second quicker than that a lap or two ago, and Salmela took 0.4 off them.
Quickest rider on circuit right now is Munoz. A 46.016 was his PB lap, and that was 0.8 faster than your top two, Almanza and Quiles. So charging towards the top six right now as the 64 bike of Munoz. Pirelli has finally got himself out of 14th place, having picked off Buchanan on that last lap. Bertelli recovering after his first a couple of corners drama and a long lap. He's up into 19th place now.
Yeah, two things to bear in mind with Almanza leading this race if his pace does start to drop off. One, that he's on the softer front tyre, the only rider in this leading four on the soft front tyre, and also, of course, the physicality, given that he's only a few days fresh out of hospital.
Munoz has just taken a Riarte, so the Munoz charge continues. There he is in the 64 bike. He's just passed Mugello winner Riarte on that run down a turn 5. A big glance over his left shoulder for Riarte. He won't see anybody. Adrian Cruz says he's over 2 seconds behind that battle, but this one's coming. Munoz, fastest rider on circuit by a distance.
Best thing that could have happened to Valentin Peroni's race here is the move by Salmela to go through at him, because Salmela is dragging him up nicely up to the back of the leading pair once again as we now come into turn 12. This is lap 6 of 20. The group behind Munoz 0.8 quicker than the leaders last time round, so what's currently a leading group of 2/4 could be a group of 7 in a few laps' time.
This is going to be a battle of wills for Almanza, isn't it? We know he's going to be drained of energy towards the tail end of this Grand Prix. He was still in hospital recovering from that severe bout of tonsillitis on Wednesday. Flew late to Budapest for this Balaton Park Grand Prix. There are the hard chargers. Carpe up 13 places already. Munoz up 11 places. Fastest laps of their Grand Prix so far for both Salmela and Peroni, having their Tech 3 tussle once again for 3rd and 4th. And now Salmela has got himself right onto the rear tyre of Quiles and Almanza as we go through turn 2. Yeah,
that was Danish you saw sitting up on the outside. He's already 2 laps down, now 3 laps down, having rejoined, of course, after that collision with Moodley on the first lap of the race. It's wise riding, of course, knowing that the leading group are coming up behind him, making sure he doesn't impact the battle at the front.
Pratama, after his long lap, still outside of the point scoring places in 60 spots. They're making a move very, very quickly on Ryusai Yamanaka to pick up what would be a single point, as now Munoz has jumped all over the rear tyre of Carpe. How much are these two taken out of their Pirelli rubber to get themselves from deep on the grid here in Hungary? They're dropping Iriarte here, aren't they, on the 51 bike?
Yeah, both are on the same combination as Quiles makes his move then on lap 7 of 20. Looked like he's been waiting for his moment, doesn't it? Because that was a beautiful move and easily done into turns 9 and 10. So the World Championship leader now seizes control.
And he keeps up this amazing record of now leading every single Grand Prix so far in 2026. Threatening another big payday in terms of the World Championship. He could be gaining 14 points here on Carpe in 2nd place. Still, what, 2/3 of this Grand Prix remaining here. Some fight this, Carpe, Munoz and Iriarte. It is at the moment in the hands of Carpe, but it's going to be tough to hold off the hard-charging Munoz for the remainder of this Grand Prix. And now at the top 4, well, they're all together, aren't they? Almanza, well, now the race leader, Quiles, Almanza, Salmela and Peroni. You can pretty much throw a towel over those 4 now. It's closed right up at the front.
Quiles back into the 45s then on that lap, of 1:45.947 to take the lead from Almanza. They're still doing low 46s behind him. Uriarte has responded to keep himself on the back of the Carpe Munoz battle. Behind that group, it's then Cruces Rios and Adrian Fernandez that complete your top 10.
Really on the last lap, moved up into 12th ahead of Kelso. He'll be really angry with himself for that big mistake he made, trying to be too greedy, too aggressive on the brakes into the first corner. So 12th at the moment for Morelli, the rider who came into this Grand Prix 4th in the World Championship. So what have Almanza, Salmela and Peroni got in terms of this particular onslaught, as Almanza went in a little bit hot there on the brakes into turn 5. That was pretty close.
Medium front for Quiles, the soft front for Almanza. Now 3/4 of a second back to the Tech 3 pair. Of course, a major opportunity here for Rico Salmela to stand on a Grand Prix podium for the first time. He had a couple of eye-catching results right at the start of his rookie season, did the young Finn. Finished 6th in both Brazil and in Austin. Has found the going a little bit tougher since then, so a welcome return to form for the young Finn.
Likewise for Perrone as well. Points in all 7 Grand Prix so far this year for the 18-year-old, but he's missed the top 10 in the last 3. Not guilty as far as Pini and Esteban go then in that second quarter incident on the very first lap. No further action taken between those two. As Uriarte desperately trying to go with Carpe and Munoz ahead of him here. Quiles' advantage is over 0.3 of a second. He's just starting to build some pressure here on Almanza. Test Almanza behind him. He wants revenge, doesn't he, as well, for Buriram, doesn't he, when they locked horns right to the checker flag in Thailand. And
as soon as Quiles has taken leadership of the race, they've started to drop Salmela and Perrone again, with Quiles now backing up a 45.9 with a 46.0. Almanza is able at the moment to go with this pace of Quiles, but it looks like it's already starting to drop Salmela and Perrone into their own personal battle for P3.
Munoz just cannot find a way through. Can't make a clean pass as yet on Carpe in their fight for 5th place. Those two have sort of dragged each other through from deep on the grid, haven't they, into this podium battle. There is Quiles, and normally when he gets to the front of Grand Prix, he is more than capable of getting the job done now. Then Munoz got brilliant drive coming out of turn 4. Is he close enough to level Carpe on the brakes into 5? He is. It's going to be a block pass. He leans on Carpe. Carpe tries to lean back on his fellow Spaniard, but that was a beaut from Munoz. He set it all up with great corner speed going through turn 4, got the slingshot out of 4 and made the pass on the brakes into 5.
Is Carpe going to try and come back at him? He's on the outside line, though, unfortunately, from his point of view, into 9 and 10. So Munoz was always going to defend that one with ease. Uriarte, of course, looking to try and pick up any crumbs up ahead. It looks like Perrone's also now right on top of his teammate Salmela again in that battle for 3rd.
The only really way you can make passes here is a block pass, because it's just so hard to overtake cleanly. Not a lot of overtaking opportunities around here. Turn 5 is probably the most favourite of them all, as Munoz demonstrated quite brilliantly there. Uriarte then now just regaining his big interest in that fight for 5th place directly ahead of him. Quiles, almost half a second he is now through sector 3 on this lap 9 of 20.
Update on Pratama, he's now into the point. He has made that move on Yusei Yamanaka up to 15th place. He's in a group all the way up to Morelli in 10th place, as Quiles now sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on a 1:45.872. He's now starting to ask big questions of Almanza. Yeah, you sensed that was coming. You could just visibly see through the 3rd sector that Quiles had dropped the hammer on that lap 9, a 45.872. Almost 0.6 of a second he was then clear of Almanza. You have to factor in the sort of fatigue issue, the tiredness, which is surely going to impact on Almanza's speed in the second half of this Grand Prix. 5 days ago, the poor guy was still in hospital. At 45.8 from Quiles would have put him 3rd on the grid. That's how quick he's currently going in this race. And I think for Almanza, of course, he's going to be incentivised by what's going on behind him, with the gap opening up back to the Tech 3 duo. Of course, desperately wants to win, but as long as he's beginning to pull clear of the Tech 3 pair behind him, he's in a fairly safe 2nd place.
Carraro has crashed out at the first corner. His motorcycle gets cleared away from the scene of the crime. I have to say, Salmela is riding out of his skin at the moment. Perrone's been on his rear tyre now for a good 5 or 6 laps, but just cannot find a way through. Defending with all his might here, isn't he, the flying Finn? Looks once again like Munoz and Carpe are just threatening to drop Uriarte. Uriarte at the moment in 7th place. He's still doing low 146s, Uriarte, but just not able to hang on to the back of Munoz and Carpe.
Salmela is all action on board that KTM. It's quite a view that Perrone's got as we now look overhead on the 2 Tech 3 teammates. They are starting to be steadily caught by Munoz now that he's cleared Carpe. Munoz did a 46.1. The only rider faster than him on the last lap was Quiles, the race leader. So this might catch the attention of Tech 3 if the 64 starts to zero in on them.
Fair play to Almanza. Almanza, talk about digging deep. How big's his shovel? A 145.961. He is responding. This is awesome, you have to say, from Almanza. Straight away back into the 45s himself to try and keep this pressure on Max Quiles at the front. Keeping the pressure on Salmela is certainly Perrone, who did so much of the front running in this Grand Prix last year, only to lose the win very late on. just about keeping himself on the right side of the red and white curves there, was Quiles didn't want to run on the outside there. The green track limits, as you can see on the outside of 4.
I thought Peroni was having a little look there at Rico, Salmella, the Tech 3 duo wisely sort of calling a bit of a truce at the moment. I think their big battle here isn't so much what's ahead. Their big battle is with the fast chasing Munoz, who once again took a quarter of a second out of them on the last lap. So Munoz is now 1 second off the back of Peroni in third.
How much did Morelli damage his front-running prospects with that charge into the first corner? Well, it has taken him 10 laps to get himself back inside the top 10. That's how much damage he did suffer early on. Just behind him is Adrian Fernandez. Points at the moment for O'Gorman, Ogden and Kelso. Scott Ogden came from 21st on the grid. He finished 21st in every single session so far this weekend, Ogden, so potentially 3 points beckoning for the Brit.
That gap has really now come down. It's plummeted on this lap between Peroni and Munoz. Of course, Peroni still bottled up behind his teammate. If anything, it looks like he's now got the superior pace behind Salmella, and they've now got Munoz and Carpe, crucially, who's now up behind 64 and 83. It's a 4-way battle for third now.
Yeah, and you feared that Uriarte was struggling to go with Munoz and Carpe, and that fear has panned out. Uriarte's now over a second. He's been cut well adrift of the Munoz-Carpe battle. 1.5 seconds now. He was in the mid-46s. It was Uriarte. So it doesn't look like he's going to be winning back-to-back Grand Prix in 2026. Quiles and Almanza, both in the 45s. As Salmella goes in a little bit hot, just a little bit hot already, maybe overworking that Pirelli front tyre. So Peroni then does seize third place. They're over 2.5 seconds behind your race leader, Quiles. But this is like Thailand all over again, isn't it? Quiles and Almanza on a different level.
Yeah, comfortably clear of the rest of the field. Just could not get it stopped there into turn 1. Of course, it is a slightly slippery and greasy turn 1. Peroni more than happy to take advantage of that opportunity. Can he bolt up the order now and try and build a bit of a buffer while his teammate holds Munoz back?
Just at the top of your pitch there, you can see Cruces and Rios there, 8th and 9th respectively. Adrian Fernandez has just put in his best lap of the Grand Prix. Seems like he's getting towed by the Aspire rider Morelli ahead of him.
Salmella's definitely not thinking about defence, he's thinking about attack. So too is Carpe up the inside of Munoz. So we've now got Tech 3 and IO KTM's now running 3rd, 4th and 5th. Munoz isn't going to take that one lying down, is he? He was always going to fight back.
Of course he wasn't. Of course he was not. He's all action. Has a good long look over his left shoulder there. And just has a glare, a stare into the face of Carpe. Of course, for this quartet start beating each other up, I mean, already Quiles and Almanza are long gone, but if they had any hope of dragging themselves back into the victory contention, well, they can kiss goodbye to those hopes. As you can see, just in the top of your pitch there, moving into the final chicane, 15 and 16. It's still Quiles just about keeping Almanza at bay. Nothing between them at the front of this Grand Prix. Lap 11 of 20 in the 45s. That's stunning pace. And Almanza, they are once again in the 45s. And Almanza, well, he's pushing his brain, his body and his bike at the moment to play something even he thought he was capable of doing. A 45.836 Almanza on lap 12, keeping himself firmly in the hunt here for the win in Hungary.
They're nearly a second a lap quicker than the group behind them. Yes, of course, Salmella made that mistake into turn 1, which led them to drop their pace off a little bit, but they are in a completely different league from the rest of the field. And of course, while this quartet battle with each other, Uriarte just gently bringing some time back on the last lap, a 46.5 for Uriarte. He's still 1.3 back, so he needs plenty more action up ahead if he's going to get in the battle for third.
This was coming, let's be honest. Almanza and Quiles were over half a second quicker than anybody else in qualifying yesterday. They absolutely destroyed the field in that 15-minute Q2 session. So this is not a shock from the top pair at the front, but their pace is super impressive. You can keep an eye on the lead group in the top left-hand corner of your screens, because we're engaged, we're all eyes on this strong battle for the final place on the box. Peroni, Salmella, Munoz, Carpe. Looks like maybe Uriarte even fancies getting himself back into this battle. Uriarte, a 46.5 in his last lap, was a couple of tenths faster than Munoz and Carpe directly ahead of him.
Peroni, of course, was on the podium here last year when he was that very close second to Max Quiles. It's third that he's fighting for here. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, pretty much in one camera shot. Once again, a big look behind for David Munoz, and Alvaro Carpe is not going to sit down in 6th place very long. If you're going to look behind, I'm going to put you behind me.
Yeah, Carpe then needing no second invitation into the final chicane, final corner now. We negotiate. This is turn 17. Long gone up the road are Quiles and Almanza, who've just dipped into the 46s. Keyless by just 0.02 of a second, 146.002. 0.4 of a second is his slender lead over Almansa. Uriarte is coming back into this battle, isn't he? Uriarte, to his credit, has just found another mid 146. That was, well, he was 0.7 faster than Munoz for the 47.1. Munoz was littered, of course, by Carpe on that last lap, but don't discount Uriarte.
Oh, Carpe having a little look on the inside of 4 there. He was able to hold a much tighter line through those left-handers of 2, 3 and 4. And already Peroni is thinking about defence, hugging the right-hand side of the racetrack. Salmela pulls out on the 27. Carpe on the 83. Might take one Tech 3 bike. He's up into 4th place. That's 1 down, 1 to go.
PB lap on the last lap from Morelli, keeping a close eye on his recovery of 46.740. I mean, that is podium pace. Unfortunately, his hopes of the top 3 were ended at the very first corner. Here comes Carpe, showing Peroni his front wheel. What a battle this is. An air. Uriarte's right now. It's now, well, what was it? A quartet, a battle of 4 for the podium as Carpe sends it on the inside of Peroni going through turn 11. Well, it's now a battle of 5 for the final spot on the box.
That's 3 riders he's passed in a lap, isn't it? He passed Munoz into 15 on the previous lap and 2 Tech 3 overtakes in the space of around 6 corners for Alvaro Carpe, the 83. Of course, he's going to lose points at the moment. As it stands, he would lose 9 of them to Max Keyless. But again, Carpe limiting the damage to a certain extent.
He's never had 3 podiums in 3 successive races, has Carpe. Looking for a late birthday gift here as well. He turned 19 here in Hungary on Friday. Right in the mix, isn't he, Carpe? 3 podiums in the last 5 starts, 6 top 5 finishes so far this season. Keyless now then. That was a big lap from Keyless, a big lap 14. You feel he was almost half a second quicker than Almansa. That gap between those two, that's going to be tight between Peroni and Carpe on the brakes into the first corner. Out of nowhere, the gap between Keyless and Almansa jumped up to over 0.8 of a second. That
was the height of ambition there from Valentin Peroni. He was wise to back out of that one because he could well have skittled himself and Carpe out of the Grand Prix. And now that Almansa is nearly a second behind, and with 4.6 seconds of empty tarmac back to that 5-way fight for 3rd, is this the point where David Almansa thinks, do you know what, 20 points in 2nd place will do me just fine today?
Yeah, heroic riders. Munoz, he's got the inside line there, hasn't he, on Peroni? That's getting really tight. Salmela is, and that's gone now back into 4th place. What a battle this has been for the final place on the podium. Anybody's guess who's going to win out at the end of this particular tussle. At the moment, it is still Carpe. Carpe with a bit of breathing space. It's about the biggest lead he's had in that 3rd spot. Salmela charges in hot into that chicane. That's going to have cost him time through 9 and 10.
Yeah, and that almost forced his teammate wide. And look, Munoz rides through the gap. There's about half a KTM wide. Munoz forced his way through it, and in between the Tech 3 teammates now.
They don't learn this, like, do they? If you give David Munoz an inch, he's going to take a mile in Moto3. As you can see now, just on his own in the picture-on-picture in the top left-hand corner of your screens, Keyless has well and truly dropped David Almansa. It's now 1.4 seconds is that gap. It looks like David Almansa, he fought a phenomenal fight. It looks like he's going to hold on to a safe 2nd place, and a richly deserved 2nd place as well. But Keyless, just as he has been so often in 2026, on the day is just too strong and too fast.
46.9 on that last lap for David Almansa. Lost 4 tenths to this group that we're looking at, but with only 5 laps to go, if he loses at that sort of rate, that's not going to concern him too much, as Salmela, Speedway style, they do like their Speedway in Finland, don't they? But he lost in the end that 4th place to Munoz.
Don't discount Uriarte, as we have mentioned. He's just sort of keeping a watching brief, waiting to potentially pick up some pieces of the battles directly ahead of him. Cruces has broken Rios in their battle for 8th. Cruces now 1.8 seconds clear of Rios. In fact, Rios might shortly be getting picked off by Morelli. That gap between those two has come down to under 0.2 of a second. Points still on the board for Fernandez, Ogden, O'Gorman, Kelso and Buchanan.
Feels like the battle now then for 3rd place is Carpe and Munoz. They've been able to pick their way through this group, which is led by Salmela, led by Peroni, and now Tech 3 are potentially staring at a 5th and a 6th. Uriarte, can he get himself into the action too and join his teammate up at the front of this group? Carpe has worked hard. He and Munoz have had to be patient. They've had to work hard as Peroni's now dished out some punishment, some serious punishment to his teammate there. And again, Uriarte this time is going to pick up the crumbs. Not exactly the best team strategy at Tech 3 there, was it?
Peroni just took the front there, mid-corner through 11. Is that what forced him to pick up? And then Salmela was caught right on the wrong side of all that. Rico Salmela through no fault of his own. Let's just try and find out what happened here. This is ultra aggressive from Perrone on the inside. Well, it was just, I think, his front tyre hitting Salmela's knee, wasn't it, that forced him to quickly pick up.
Fans of Drive to Survive will know that Gunther Steiner doesn't often take kindly to his teammates not working together back in Formula 1, so he might be having a word with his two young chargers in Tech 3. KTM after that one. Quiles leads Almanza now by 1.9, and Almanza is still very much pegging the gap. He's matching the pace of the group behind him. His second looks plenty safe enough.
Quiles still doing 46 flats, which is sensational pace. So too is Munoz, a 46.1 from the rider. In fourth place, Morelli, as we suspected he would do, did pick off Rios to move up into ninth. Salmela was the big loser on that lap 16, wasn't he? Dropped down to seventh, and with that aggressive move put in by his teammate Perrone, he was in the 47s on that last circuit, was the Finn.
Won't be any points today for Vader Pratama. He's had a poor lap in the 48s last time around. He's now down to 19th place as Munoz shows a front tyre to Alvaro Carpe, who will be well aware who's right behind him. That now is the battle for third and fourth. They've dropped the Tech 3 duo, and of course it is now Ariarte who leads that particular trio in fifth.
Yeah, and these two have sort of stared each other down at points in this Grand Prix, as Munoz then does find a way through into 9 and 10. That's lovely by Munoz. Some battle this for third. He's going to shut the door on Carpe going now through turn 11. Left-hander now, it's all about building up your speed, charging towards his second the chicane. And a little long look over his left shoulder from Carpe. He's got a little bit of breathing space.
Yeah, the rider he'll see immediately behind him is his teammate Brian Ariarte, who a few laps ago we thought was being dropped into what would have been a fairly lonely seventh place, but Ariarte demonstrating some good late race pace here, which might yet still give him a say in the battle for the podium.
Shout out to Buchanan, 15th at the moment. He's just putting his best lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:47.124, which is, well, that's pretty much as fast as Rico Salmela managed on that last lap. 46 flat again from Quiles. Masterclass this once again from the World Championship leader. 2.2 seconds, he is now clear of Almanza. Munoz then immediately is able to take a quarter of a second advantage out of Carpe as he now sweeps through the first corner. So Munoz looking super good. What a performance this would be, 17th to third, and a potential double podium incoming for Dynavolt.
Who've both had their injury issues so far this season, haven't they? Of course, Munoz carried the injury which ended his 2025 season, the broken leg that he sustained in Mandalika, which certainly hasn't made his life easy in 2026 so far. And of course, Almanza's had injury and more recently illness to deal with, as Salmela at the back of the picture comes back through. That's a bit of revenge that he's dished out there on his teammate Perrone.
This will be the 9th time in his career that David Munoz is going to be on the podium potentially, having qualified outside of the top 10. He's a charger, he's aggressive, he's not scared to get the elbows out on Sundays, is he, the Spanish rider? This is not a given though, he's got this one covered off for a podium. He's got a freight train, a whole group of Red Bull KTMs that are fancying snatching that third place away from him. You just saw them moving out of the picture. Out of turn 11 goes David Almanza, who is on course for a heroic second place here in Hungary. I think he's going to be close enough though to attack Munoz as we go into the chicane of 12 and 13.
Top Honda in this race is Jesus Rios. He's a comfortable 3 seconds clear of an all-Honda battle at the moment between Adrian Fernandez and Casey O'Gorman there in 11th and 12th, ahead of Ogden Kelso and the aforementioned Buchanan, who's just had another PB lap into the 46s now. Yeah,
that's successive PB laps from Buchanan, doing a top job. He needs that kind of pace as well, because he's only 0.6 of a second clear of Joel Esteban, who was involved in that first lap drama with Guido Pini and Matteo Vitelli. PB laps from Ariarte and Salmela. They're now in the low 46. It's another 1:46 flat again from Quiles. He's doing 46 flats for fun.
Salmela was millimetres there from the rear tyre and potentially tagging Ariarte, who's the second of the Red Bull painted bikes in this trade. It's a test of the identification with 4 near identical bikes all running together up behind David Munoz, who still leads this 5-way fight. A lap and a half for this all to be settled for the final place on the podium.
There is Almanza just moving through your pitch. They fan out almost 2-3 abreast on this long run down to turn 5. They're all now ganging up, aren't they, on the rear tyre of Munoz. Munoz is under some immense pressure here. He needs to hang on to that podium. There he is on the 64 bike. Carpe still his closest contender. Another glare back once again from Uriarte.
Carpe was hot into 5 though, and that cost him the opportunity to attack here, where we know is one of the big overtaking opportunities in Moto 3 into turn 9. That mistake into 5 cost him 3 or 4 bike lengths. That was all it took.
Not sure what happened to Buchanan on that previous lap, because he was comfortably doing sort of 46 as he did a 47.8, a second slower than Joel Esteban, which has seen the Kiwi bumped out of the point scoring places, unfortunately. Even his first time inside the top 15, he can still, of course, try and rectify that situation. Back with this pack then, fighting for 3rd place. Munoz has been at the front of this pack now for a good 4 or 5 laps, and we know how good he is at attacking. We know how good he is at defending as well. It's going to be a tough task to get on Munoz's rear tyre and then to find a way through to make the pass. 46.4 from Quiles as we move on to the final lap here in the Grand Prix of Hungary. Surely it's back-to-back wins in Balaton for the World Championship leader as Uriarte comes from a long, long way back. That's brave into the first corner. He's picked off Carpe. Uriarte looking for back-to-back podiums.
Io on Io, and it's Uriarte with the advantage now over his teammate. The Tech 3 pair not out of this yet. It's Salmela still leading Peroni. Salmela, as it stands, on course for an equal career best in 6th. Can he better it on this final lap?
Oh, so much pressure here on Munoz. He's just going to brake as late as he dares on the run down to turn 5. Nobody's going to be close enough. Carpe trying to make a move back on the inside of Uriarte. There is no way through.
Carpe was dangerously close to the green there, coming out of turn 4. I think he was just about okay, but of course Carpe knows from yesterday in qualifying what kind of damage track limits can do to your weekend.
Poor Munoz is going to have to do some serious defending here late on. He had a bit of a wobble there, didn't he, as well. Here comes Carpe. Here comes Carpe.
Wow.
A two-pronged attack here as Munoz gets lifted into the chicane. And now Carpe then has taken that 3rd place. Although there's a wobble, he has a head shake as now they go to the left-hander of turn 11.
Oh, contact again. Munoz is trying to elbow his way through on Carpe, and now he makes contact.
Oh.
Massive accident on the back straight.
Huge accident. Huge accident involving Munoz. You can see at the front of this Grand Prix, though, it's going to be Max Quiles that will win. Still upright in that battle for the 3rd place is Carpe and Salmela. But out of the final corner, once again, just as he did in 2025, Max Quiles having a ball at Balaton Park. We've got a late red flag here, a late red flag after the incident involving Munoz, Peroni and Uriarte. He will not take the win away from Max Quiles. It will not deny David Almanza a heroic 2nd. What a ride by Almanza. Carpe then does take 3rd, Salmela 4th, but at the moment, of course, our thoughts are with that trio of riders that crashed on that dramatic last lap here in Hungary. David Munoz, Brian Uriarte, your Mugello winner, and Valentin Peroni on the podium here last year in Hungary.
Nowhere for the riders behind to go. It was Munoz that went down first. I think he must have clipped the rear tyre of Carpe up ahead of him, and then nowhere for the riders behind him to go. So we'll see what that means for the overall race result once it's all settled out. Basically, Peroni is up on his feet, but of course, out of the Grand Prix. Our thoughts with Munoz, who looked like he was collected.
So all that late drama pushed Marco Morelli up to 6. Rios, O'Gorman, Fernandez and Ogden inside the top 10. There is Brian Uriarte as well. So the 2 Red Bull KTM riders, they have been able to leave the circuit under their own steam. Let's hope David Munoz is okay, of course. He's had his well-documented injury problems. Suffered a serious femur fracture in the Indonesian Grand Prix on our flyweight tour last year, and he's had 6 or 7 operations since that point to try and get himself back to full fitness. There'll be points for Kelso, Esteban, Buchanan, who does take 13th, Batelli and Vader Batama, the rider who was 3rd in the standings going into that Grand Prix. But once again, as he has proven on so many occasions throughout 2025, his incredible rookie season, and certainly in the opening part of 2026, Max Quiles, a completely dominant force in this year's World Championship. Wins now in Goiânia, in Jerez, Le Mans, Barcelona, and now here once again in Balaton. He remains undefeated here in the Grand Prix of Hungary.
Yeah, that was not in any doubt, was it, in the latter stages for Max Quiles. So angry he was after his poor finish by his standards. That's good news on our screens that at least all riders are conscious, particularly given that certainly it looked like, I think it was Peroni who ran into Munoz as he was on the racetrack. So we hope Munoz is okay. At the very least, we know he is conscious. But Max Quiles, by far and away the dominant force in Moto3 in this season. And that was a postcard of what Quiles is all about.
5th win of the campaign. And the way it's going, we're giving him the trophy at the start of the flyways. He is just on a different level. You always feel like he's just got that extra gear to go to if he needs it. He was pretty frustrated yesterday to miss out on pole position by just 600ths of a second, but there was no doubt whatsoever was there about where the race-winning silverware was going to go today. It's for the 8th time in his Grand Prix career. Max Quiles is your victor. He was livid.
And join his teammate up at the front of this group, just close to the green there, coming out of turn 4. I think he was just about okay, but of course Carpe knows from yesterday in qualifying what kind of damage track limits can do to your weekend.
Poor Munoz is going to have to do some serious defending here late on. He had a bit of a wobble there, didn't he, as well. Here comes Carpe. Here comes Carpe.
Wow.
A two-pronged attack here as Munoz gets lifted into the chicane. And now Carpe then has taken that 3rd place, although he's a wobble. He has a head shakers now. They go to the left-hander of turn 11.
Oh, contact again. Munoz is trying to elbow his way through on Carpe, and now he makes contact.
Oh.
Massive accident on the back straight.
Huge accident involving Munoz. You can see at the front of this Grand Prix, though, it's going to be Max Quiles that will win. Still upright in that battle for the 3rd place is Carpe and Salmela. But out of the final corner, once again, just as he did in 2025, Max Quiles having a ball at Balaton Park. We've got a late red flag here, a late red flag after the incident involving Munoz, Perrone and Uriarte. He will not take the win away from Max Quiles. It will not deny David Almanza a heroic second. What a ride by.
They've had to work hard as Perrone's now.
Here comes Carpe. Here comes Carpe.
Wow.
A two-pronged attack here as Munoz gets lifted into the chicane. And now Carpe then has taken that 3rd place, although he's a wobble. He has a head shakers now. They go to the left-hander of turn 11.
Oh, contact again. Munoz is trying to elbow his way through on Carpe, and now he makes contact.
Oh.
Massive accident on the back straight.
Huge accident involving Munoz. You can see at the front of this Grand Prix, though, it's going to be Max Quiles that.
David Munoz, as you mentioned, Munoz has had his injury problems already recently, and that's not a crash that you like to see too many times.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as you can see from those images on Carpe's KTM, twice David Munoz's legs were run over. So yeah, all we can say is we hope that there is no serious injury. There's no aggravation to the femur fracture that he suffered in Mandalika last year. Jorge Martinez Aspar congratulates Max Quiles. Jürgen Ling there coming across to give a races. Has Carpe looking for a late birthday gift here as well. He turned 19 here in Hungary on Friday. Right in the mix, isn't he, Carpe? 3 podiums in the last 5 starts, 6 top 5 finishes so far this season. Quiles now then. That was a big lap from Quiles, a big lap 14. You feel he was almost half a second quicker than Almanza. Quiles that will win. Still upright in that battle for the 3rd place is Carpe and Salmela. But out of the final corner, once again, just as he did in 2025, Max Quiles having a ball at Balaton Park. We've got a late red flag here, a late red flag after the incident involving. Since 2/3 of that race, he's going to be absolutely destroyed, absolutely shattered. The hardest podium finish of David Almanza's career, that's for sure.
Great to see him back on the form that we saw from him at the start of the season before that injury in Brazil. As a jig of delight from Max Quiles. He is going to be breaking some serious records, isn't he, in this Moto3 season. The kind of form he's going, only 8 races in, with Carpe credited in 3rd place. He will extend his World Championship lead now up to 59 points.
He takes the congratulations of the Aspar team. It was a tougher fight for the win here last August when he was pushed all the way to the checkered flag on the last lap by Perrone. This time around, though, it was a bit of a breeze in Balaton, wasn't it? huge respect, a huge effort just to even be here this weekend in Hungary for David Almanza. Let's not forget he was still in a hospital bed on Wednesday, and he's come back with a pole position and a really hard-earned second place. Yeah, take a big gulp of that liquid, David, because you've earned it. You're certainly going to be earning a taste of some Prosecco post-Grand Prix here.
This is coming on to the final lap then, out of turn 11, and Munoz does indeed make contact with the rear tyre. You can see there, nasty impact there for Peroni, should I say, who ran over David Munoz. As you mentioned, Munoz has had his injury problems already recently, and that's not a crash that you like to see too many times.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as you can see from those images on Carpe's KTM, twice David Munoz's legs were run over. So, yeah, all we can say is we hope that there is no serious injury. There's no aggravation to the femur fracture that he suffered in Mandalika last year. Jorge Martinez Aspar congratulates Max Keyless. Jürgen Ling there, coming across to give a very deserved pat on the back to his rider. The race red flagged. Final results based on standings as of lap 19, with 2/3 race distance completed.
Yeah, so there's just been a little bit of a rejigging in the result here on our screen.
Weekend was not a very easy weekend. We made a lot of mistakes. Team was unhappy a little bit, but yeah, I think we deserve this, because in the fight I feel like very good. I'm very clever, and yeah, this race was. If I started maybe the two front rows, maybe I could follow even the second place. Maybe not the first place, but we could fight the second place. But yeah, we have to see the reality. We are on third position, not bad. Constancy is the key. So yeah, thank you for all my team, all my family is at home, all my friends, and see you in the next race.
Great ride, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, another great ride. Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Alvaro Carpe. It is now his 4th podium in the last 6. 3 on the spin, 3rd in Austin, 2nd in Catalonia, 2nd in Mugello, 3rd today here at Balaton Park. And as he said, he has found that consistency. Well, he really has found. He hasn't finished lower than 5th so far this season. The only blemish on his copybook was the DNF French Grand Prix in Le Mans. And he did it the hard way, no question. As he said, he really fluffed. They made a real hash of Q2 yesterday. Doesn't sound like Red Bull KTM either were too impressed with him, weren't they, after he didn't register a lap time in that qualifying session yesterday, but he turned up and it really mattered on Sunday. He's a heroic, a truly stunning second place here in Hungary for David Almanza, who's with Jack.
David, you've had to dig so deep for that podium. Still in hospital on Wednesday. You've travelled straight here and you finished the weekend in 2nd place. Just how proud are you of your efforts over the last couple of days?
Was the day, no, the next day. Well, this result is very important to me, also to the team, because we come back to the podium, we come back to do the result we merecemos. And well, the race today was very hard to me, because I don't stay 100% from myself, because too many days in the hospital. We made it, I can do more. And today with the front soft tire, in the middle of the race was very difficult, but well, we complete the race. This in 2nd position. It's very important to me also. Well, we need to continue like this.
An incredible effort today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, a Herculean effort from David Almanza. You tried to have had that conversation or tried to speak with him this time last weekend. Well, he couldn't talk. So severe was the bout of tonsillitis he had throughout the Grand Prix of Italy. As he said, he put up a real great fight there. Maybe just didn't quite have the front grip underneath him with that Pirelli soft front tyre. Well, that was a class performance from his hospital bed to a World Championship podium in less than a week for the 20-year-old Spaniard. With Max Keyless, well, he is just completely unstoppable right now. 5 wins in a back-to-back in Balaton. Let's get the thoughts of the Spaniard with Jack.
Max, another absolute masterclass here today. Last weekend in Mugello, we saw the anger, we saw the frustration, we saw how much it means to win. So to have bounced back like that, how much does this mean?
Yeah, after Mugello I was really focused. I had these angers. I think it's something normal when you are young. And I said, okay, I'm gonna push off the anger now in Hungary, and it was great. So happy to win here, and wow, it's amazing. The 5th one, let's see if we can keep making more victories, and yeah, keep working with the team that they are making a great job. And I hope David is good. It's never nice to win a race when somebody is injured, so I hope he's good. They told me it was okay, so this is the important thing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I've said it before, there's just so much to admire, isn't there, about 18-year-old Max Quiles, victorious here in Balaton. But one of his first thoughts, as we all share, on David Munoz after his horrible last lap crash. This was the key move, it was coming. Quiles then firing on the inside of David Almanza. Some effort there, braking on the curve going through turns 9 and 10. Well, that's the confidence he has in himself. He always backs himself, doesn't he, Max Quiles? Backing himself, he goes back-to-back at Balaton Park. He knew that was a great ride. That's great respect. Max Quiles knows just how tough this week has been for David Almanza. Almanza got the better of him in Q2 yesterday, but there was nothing that was going to stop Max Quiles on Grand Prix day here in Hungary.
And as he said himself, channeling the anger from the visible anger we saw last weekend in Mugello when he finished down in what has ultimately become 10th place with what's happened to Adrian Fernandez. Rather than getting angry, he got even here this weekend. He got better than even. He dominated this Hungarian Grand Prix to strengthen his position at the top of the World Championship. There is Valentin Peroni, one of the 3 riders involved in that incident on the final lap. Of course, because Oriate did get back on his bike and ultimately come back to the pits, that's why he has been credited with 4th place. Salmela also kept running. So Peroni and Munoz was the 2 who didn't get back up and rejoin. That's why they are non-finishers.
Scary, that one for Peroni. Glad to see he's already back in the Red Bull KTM Tech 3 garage. Just explaining how close he was to the podium. Of course, in about 7 or 8 minutes time, we'll begin our coverage of the 300th Moto2 Grand Prix here in Balaton Park. What a milestone that is. But first, the Moto3 celebrations underway. Quiles, Almanza and Carpe were all Spanish top 3 here in Balaton.
Yeah, Max Quiles, I think rather accustomed to this, isn't he? The only blot on his podium copybook being that Italian Grand Prix in Mugello. So out of 8 Grand Prix, that is now 7 podiums, 16 in total in his Moto3 career now. And that was only Max Quiles' 26th Moto3 start. There's the now quite familiar celebration from Alvaro Carpe. And when he gets up onto a podium, no one will have worked as hard for a 2nd place as David Almanza has today. But victory, of course, it was Max Quiles who took victory at Balaton today. Another all-Spanish podium, which is also becoming quite a frequent occurrence in Moto3. Winning Constructor Prize, of course, is handed over to Aspar. Henrik Hermann, the president of the Hungarian Motorsport Federation, doing the honours. Alvaro Carpe, as Matt mentioned, having a very good podium run this season. That's 4 podiums for him now. The first time he's achieved 3 in a row. He's 9th in total. Fortunately, I guess, if you want to find the negative, none of those are wins so far. Surely it's a matter of time before his day comes, but with Almanza and Quiles on such red-hot form, the victory was never in the offing for him today. Almanza picks up a 2nd place trophy, and of course a 1st podium for him since that victory in Buriram at the start of the season. So good to see David back on that sort of form again. But he already feels like the champion in waiting, doesn't he? Max Quiles, livid with himself, livid with life last weekend when he couldn't get involved in the battle for victory on the final lap in Moto3. This time in Hungary, he was the only winner.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Spain.
And just like my bike, my body and skin also need the right care to perform.
By David Almanza. I'm not sure if he's allowed to have any of that Prosecco with all the antibiotics he's been taking, all the medication he's had to be pumping into his body to rid himself of that real severe bout of tonsillitis. So an absolutely cracking ride today by Almanza. Almost, one stage you thought we might be having a Liqui Moly Dynamo intact GP double podium. Unfortunately, David Munoz caught up in that last lap drama. All riders were reported conscious in that last lap instant. But it's Max Quiles then that wins once again.
Comfortable win in the end for Quiles. David Almanza, a heroic second ahead of Alvaro Carpe, who extends his podium streak. Uriarte credited with fourth ahead of a career best fifth for Rico Salmela after that nasty final lap collision. Adrian Cruz says he takes sixth place. That is the best of his Grand Prix career. Morelli seventh, which does move him up to third in the championship. Rios O'Gorman and Fernandez completing the top 10. Ogden Kelso, Esteban Buchanan and Bettelli complete the point scorers. Championship standings then, Quiles' lead up to 59 points now over Carpe. A poor day for Pratama sees him drop 3 places, with the 7th for Morelli moving him now up into third, a point ahead of Almanza. Peroni and Munoz, of course, involved in that last lap collision. They are 7th and 8th. Cruces up a couple places. He and Salmela both with their career best today, up 2 places in the championship standings. KTM's Constructors' Championship lead now up to 86 points. The first Honda across the line today was Jesus Rios in the end in 8th. And in the team standings, Aspar extend their lead to 64 points over Red Bull KTM IO, who finished 3rd and 4th today. So Max Quiles, your winner, your comfortable winner, as he extends his World Championship lead to 59 points over Alvaro Carpe. Stick around, in about 60 seconds time, we'll begin our build-up to the Moto2 battle here in Balaton.
MotoGP is back in Central Europe for the Grand Prix of Hungary, which takes centre stage for the world's best riders for just the 4th time in 77 years. Balaton Park is in the heart of an area known for the arts and is home to some of Hungary's prime vineyards, with Marc Marquez looking to taste his first Grand Prix success in 9 long months. It's time to race in MotoGP. Well, it's just gone midday local time here in Western Hungary, which means we can say good afternoon and a warm welcome to Balaton Park. A warm welcome to our 8th race day of the 2026 MotoGP World Championship, which coming to Hungary sees Marco Bezzecchi fresh off the back of his fairy tale dream home success in front of his home crowd in Mugello, 7 days ago. Bez brings a 20-point lead in the World Championship to Balaton Park. The MotoGP field as Marc Marquez hones in on the double victory once again here in Hungary. They'll be lights out and racing in about 2 hours' time. Marc Marquez, of course, on pole position and the winner of yesterday's sprint in dominant fashion. Next on the agenda here at Balaton Park, though, is a moment of history, a milestone Grand Prix coming up over what is scheduled to be 22 laps. Because a journey which began under the Lusail International Circuit floodlights at Qatar back in 2010, a race win for the late great Shoya Tomazawa, today marks the 300th Moto2 World Championship Grand Prix. And leading the field away on this momentous day for Moto2 will be Blue Crew Pramac Yamaha star Ethan Guevara, who led what was a super close Q2 in Moto2 yesterday here in the Hungarian sunshine. Guevara on pole position with a 1:40.280. The top 4 riders on the grid, though, split by just over 600ths of a second. Filip Salac, the Czech star's purple patch in qualifying, rolls on. Salac going from a 3rd front row in the last 4 rounds. Senna Aegis finds himself qualifying inside the top 3 once again for the first time since his opening round pole in Buriram. And keep a close eye because he's been super fast, super strong all weekend. It is the World Championship leader Manu Gonzalez heading row 2 in 4th place. Gonzalez, winner of our last 2 Grand Prix at Catalunya and Mugello. 34.5 points Gonzalez is leading the championship coming into this round 8. Matt Burtley is going to be in the commentary box talking you through all the action. Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. We have had some memorable battles in Moto2 in our previous 299 starts, 62 winners, 90 riders on podiums. I wonder who's going to take the glory in our 3rd centenary battle here today. Looking forward to this one, Lewis, because Q2 was incredibly close. Some real heavyweights on the first 3 rows, including Balaton Park winner David Alonso here last August. To mark 300 Moto2's Grand Prix, this one promises to be a cracker.
A really exciting one, this, given that qualifying yesterday saw, I have to say, something of an upset for Ethan Guevara, which sounds odd given that he's 2nd in the World Championship, but he's had a bit of a mixed weekend. Crashed on his very first outlap here on Friday morning, has had some front brake issues with his Boscoscuro, which certainly held him back on Sunday in Mugello last weekend, but recovered brilliantly to take his 2nd pole of the year, the first repeat pole sitter of 2026. And an upset too, because Manu Gonzalez had dominated the World Championship leader the entire weekend, fastest in all 3 practice sessions leading up to qualifying. So I think many were expecting him to take a comfortable pole. He's not even on the front row.
Only 19th pole position for Boscoscuro in the hands of Ethan Guevara. 3 in the last 4, which is already 1 more than Boscoscuro managed throughout the whole of 2025. Jake Dixon was their only pole sitter last year in Austin and in the Saxon Ring. So Ethan Guevara then brings himself to pole position. He's been in fantastic form. Performances so far this season, podiums in Thailand and in Austin, a win in Le Mans and a most recent podium in Catalunya has meant it's all pointing towards Ethan Guevara being part of the MotoGP grid next year with the new 850cc era, the new Pirelli tyre era. 7th he was last time at Magellan, which was his equal lowest finish of the campaign. 95 points collected so far by the Spanish rider. And a bit of a pretty miserable Balaton Park experience here last year when he jumped the start and got a double long lap and then eventually retired out of the action.
Ethan Guevara wants to try and close down that 34.5 point advantage to Manu Gonzalez. I have the Valencia win of Guevara in my mind, thinking about this potential Grand Prix ahead of us. Remember when he was under intense pressure from Danny Holgado for the entire race, but he was able to hold him back. Is that the kind of race we're going to see here for Guevara, because he is so difficult to pass? Perhaps the hardest rider to overtake in Moto2.
Philip Salac is waving to his left there because there's a massive Philip Salac banner on the main grandstand, and the Czech fans have made themselves heard here because Philip giving them a nice wave. Philip Salac, 3 front row starts and 81 appearances in Moto2, and now 3 in the last 4. Last year's Balaton winner though, David Alonso, he's going to be in the game for the win here today surely. Back of the 3rd row goes the Colombian, he's with Jack.
Yes, he just gets a final tap on the back and a word of advice from team boss Jorge Martinez Aspar. Well, David, you did it last year. I guess everybody wants to know, can you do it again this year?
Yeah, already each year change, you know. Each year is a different condition. So let's keep focus on what the situation we have now and make a good start with all the eyes on the first corner, and then just try to go like rider by rider. Just no matter where I finish, just try to take the rider in front and be focused till the finish line to try to be on a bubble all the race.
Good luck, have fun.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jack. David Alonso was pure box office here in the Balaton Grand Prix last year. He ended lap 2, 11th, just before the halfway point of last year's Grand Prix. He was over 4 seconds off the lead before he passed Manu Gonzalez on that thrilling final lap to become the first Colombian rider in Intermediate World Championship history to win a Grand Prix.
And he was second to Manu Gonzalez in all 3 practice sessions, so another rider who's probably qualified lower down the field than they really should be in terms of their race pace. It's been a familiar concern for Alonso in his Moto2 career so far. A year and a half in, is maximising a soft Pirelli tyre in qualifying trim and in the early laps. So it's so important for Alonso not to lose ground on the first lap if he is to challenge for a 2nd consecutive win here.
World champion Manu Gonzalez and heads an all-Spanish 2nd row, also featuring Alex Escrig and Danny Holgado, who we just saw there on screens. Qualified top 6 in 5 of 8 so far this year as Holgado. And many people's dark horses for the podium here this afternoon is Dutch rider Colin Vij. He's qualified top 10 in the last 10. He goes from 7th and he's with Jack.
Yeah, looks like a really competitive race, this one, Colin. A lot of riders with similar pace. What's going to be crucial?
First laps, and I think then the pace will be, because it's a very long race. So I think tyres stay quite well here normally. So I think the pace will be very fast from the beginning on, and let's try to see if we can get into mix for that.
Good luck, have fun.
Thanks, Jack. 4 top 10s so far this season for Colin Vij. We just saw there once again shining in qualifying. Clint Racing Team forward rider Alex Escrig, middle of row 2 in 5th place. The 22-year-old Spaniard has qualified top 6 now in 5 of 8 Grand Prix. Although after point scoring finishes in 7 in a row, he's hit the buffers of late, none in any of the last 3. Back to the front row of the grid. Aussie star Senna Ray just qualified 3rd. He's with Jack.
Yeah, brilliant job yesterday by Senna to get onto the front row of the grid in, as I just said to Colin, looks like a really competitive race, but feels as though you're going to be one right in the mix. Looking forward to this, Senna?
Yeah, of course I am. I've had a great weekend. I had a lot of focus on Friday to get up to speed really quick. Missed the Grand Prix last year, so it's nice to be here. The tracks are a completely different one to we have normally on the calendar. The layout is super unique, so it requires a lot of focus and consistency. And yeah, let's see. I think we should have a bit of a group out the front, so we need to get a good start, be aggressive and settle in as quickly as we can, and then have a good race from there. So, yeah, that's all I can do now.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Big day tomorrow for Senna Ray. Just turns 21. He'll be hoping it's a big day today for the Sydney sider. Back on the front row, they've been looking very, very strong. That front row was so tight. Just over 300th of a second splitting Guevara, Salac and Aegis.
It's third time this season now that Senna Regis has out-qualified his teammate Manu Gonzalez, who starts at the front of that second row. Can Ethan Guevara then convert pole into victory in Hungary? Here's boss Alex De Angelis is now with Jack.
Yeah, that's the big question, Lewis. Alex, some problems during the weekend. It's not been an easy one, but starting from pole position, what are Ethan's chances?
We believe that everything is okay. At the end, yesterday he was really fast and he believed in his bike, everything. Unfortunately, we didn't have so many laps continuity, so we don't know about really the tire. But everybody used the same tire, everybody are in the same feeling. I believe we don't miss anything to have a good race.
Let's hope so. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Alex De Angelis. Good point he makes there. With the problems that Guevara's had through the weekend, particularly on Friday morning, hasn't been able to do that long run preparation for the Grand Prix. So potentially in the dark a little bit ahead of what's to come, but certainly starting in the right position. And here is David Alonso, who we've heard from on the grid with Jack. He was 11th at the end of the first lap here last year, and he came through to win. So surely anything is possible from 9th.
I should pretty correct myself. Senna Regis will turn 21 on Tuesday. Nevertheless, a big day coming for him on Tuesday. Can he be celebrating in some style from the front row of the grid? There is Celestino Vietti. Boy, did he put on some show in front of his home crowd in Mugello last weekend. 16th to 3rd in the Tuscany Mountains. Only 19 podiums in Moto2 history have come from lower on the grid. The most recent was Aaron Canet from 21st to 3rd in Mandalika. Speaking of Canet, Elfmark Vidas Racing team rider once again suffering on the Bosca Scorer chassis. He's only qualified once inside the top 10, Canet so far this season. He finds himself in 16th place on the grid ahead of Alberto Ferrandez and Ivan Ortola, who had a pretty eventful Q2 yesterday.
Yeah, certainly did, as did Vietti. Bit of deja vu for Vietti after crashing in qualifying last weekend. Did it again yesterday in qualifying 1. Did, though, make Q2, and it was at the start of that Q2 session where Ortola had a crash into turn 1. He is generally a very fast starter, quite dynamic on the opening lap, is Ivan Ortola. Boy, is he going to need to be from the back of row 6.
Yeah, and that issue he had, which ruled him out of the podium battle in Mugello last weekend, did end a very promising one of 9 successive points finishes for the 21-year-old. But yeah, his hopes of a decent qualifying completely ended by that crash at the first corner. BMW safety car then has peeled away at the front of this historic Moto2 grid here in Balaton.
As far as the Pirellis are concerned underneath, every single rider on the grid has gone for the SC1 Soft and the SCX Super Soft rear. It is a straight shootout.
Belgian Barry Baltus starts 11th, which is 1 place ahead of where he finished this Balaton Grand Prix here last year. He did have to serve a long lap penalty for exceeding track limits in last year's battle. 8th over the line in Mugello last weekend, only his 2nd top 10 of the season so far, which has been a bit underwhelming, you have to say, for a rider who dazzled last year, finishing 3rd overall in the World Championship. Zonta van den Gorberg, the 20-year-old from the Netherlands, his best qualifying in 16 Grand Prix. He goes from 13th on the grid. Last time he qualified that well, it was right here on the front row of the grid at Balaton Park in late August.
He feels that progress is now starting to be made on board that machine, heading in the right direction, as is the Moto3 World Champion, Jose Antonio Rueda. It is not a career best qualifying for Rueda. He was 9th in Barcelona, but this is a first automatic Q2 for the young Spaniard. Definitely getting the hang of Moto2 now.
He really is. Back-to-back point scoring finishes. 12th in Barcelona, 13th last time out in Mugello. Senna Regis on the front row of the grid in P3. 3 front row starts in the last 4 Grand Prix for Philippe Salat, looking for a big home race boost with Brno coming up later on this month. But Ethan Guevara, can he stop the Manu Gonzalez winning machine of late in Moto2? The Spaniard starts from pole.
History made as we get set for the 300th Moto2 Grand Prix. It's Balaton Park. It's the Hungarian Grand Prix. Ethan Guevara, second pole of the year from Philippe Salat and Senna Regis, who out-qualifies his teammate Manu Gonzalez for the 3rd time this year. He starts 4th, having topped every practice session ahead of Alex Escridge and Danny Holgado, who was on the podium a week ago in Mugello. Colin Vire, he fought for the podium here last year. He starts 7th ahead of Alonso Lopez, who came through Q1, and last year's winner, David Alonso. Equal best qualifying of the year for Danny Munoz in 10th ahead of Barry Baltas and Celestino Vietti, who crashed for the second Saturday in a row. Zonta van den Gorberg 13th ahead of Jose Antonio Reda, Tony Arbolino and another Q1 graduate, Aaron Canet. Alberto Ferrandez, he was in the top 6 on Friday, starts 17th ahead of another qualifying crasher, Ivan Ortola. Yumu Sasaki is ahead of Tayo Barasato and Luca Lanetta on row 7. Then we find Joe Roberts, Denison Chu, Xavi Zunatuza, who is now the permanent rider at forward. They've parted company with Jorge Navarro, Sergio Garcia, Jacob Ralston, who's in for the injured Mario Aggi, and Adrian Huertas complete your grid.
So for the 300th time in Moto2 history, the riders set for action. What a journey has been since Shoya Tomozawa won the first Moto2 Grand Prix in Qatar all the way back in 2010. 62 riders have won in Moto2, 90 riders have finished on the podium, 66 different riders have taken pole positions. Marc Marquez, of course, the most successful ever Moto2 World Championship rider with 16 wins. Tom Luthi still very much part of the Moto2 project. Center agent Manu Gonzalez, he's the rider mentor for. He's got the most podiums with 53. It has been some stepping stone for future MotoGP stars. 17 of the 22 riders in MotoGP coming up later on have won races in Moto2. 7 of those are Moto2 World Champions, including our last 2, Ayagura and Diogo Moreira. And of course, 2 other Moto2 World Champions on the current MotoGP grid are not here, with Alex Marquez and Johan Zarco. Johan Zarco, the only rider that's won 2 Moto2 World Championships. Manu Gonzalez searching for his first. He's 34.5 points clear of Ethan Guevara. Guevara starting from pole position for the second time in the last 4 Grand Prix. Who is going to claim the glory here in Hungary in this milestone 300th Moto2 battle? Warm-up lap is about to be completed. This, just a quick reminder, is a scheduled 22-lap Moto2 scrap. Philip Salac on the front row, 5th in Mugello last time out. That was only his 9th top 6 finish in 84 appearances in the Moto2 World Championship. Best in 20 since his Aragon 5th, pretty much a full calendar year ago. So Moto2 Grand Prix 300. It's Guevara, former Moto3 World Champion. Looks like he'll be in MotoGP next year. He's used this Moto2 World Championship as the platform, as the launch pad to Premier Class stardom, as so many riders have done in the last 16 or so years. Here we go then, green flag clears at the back here in Hungary. Lights out, and we're racing in the 300th Moto2 battle here in Balaton. Philip Salac trying to get it aggressive on the inside of Guevara down into the run for the first corner. Coming from a long way back is that Alonso Lopez. Well, he was so fortunate and nobody caught him. Alex Escrees made a really good start from 5th place on the grid. He's struggling to keep himself inside that top 5. But there's Salac, the Czech rider, with his home Grand Prix in Brno coming up in a couple of weeks. Who leads?
Contact between the intact teammates, I think, there through turn 3 as well. Not sure what corner Alonso Lopez thought he was braking for, but it wasn't the 35-mile-an-hour turn 1, and it's Philip Salac who was the big winner out of that to take the lead.
As Lopez got a flight to catch in Budapest in about 2 minutes' time, it is Salac who leads them for just the second time in his Moto2 career. Buriram back in 2022 in the rain conditions. The last time Salac led, first time he's ever led a dry Grand Prix Moto2.
And Gonzalez took Guevara into turn 5, top 2 in the championship. Guevara trying to fight back into 9 now, so crucial early moves for Manu Gonzalez. He's passed his teammate and he's passed Guevara, just Salac up ahead of it.
Dream first lap so far, hasn't it been, for Gonzalez? Just where he would have wanted to have been. Try and make some early ground, avoid some trouble in that first corner was the first mission. A bit of a wheelie there for Aegis as he got on the gas coming out of turn 11.
So Salac with, of course, his home Grand Prix to come in a couple of weeks' time in the Czech Grand Prix. Boy, you see, like there's someone down, I think it's a Mark VDS Boscoscuro down at the back of the picture, and whoever that rider was looked distinctly unhappy with whoever was involved. It's Aaron Canet who's down on the first lap at turn 12.
He was out on the first lap in Mugello 7 days ago. What a thoroughly wretched week it has been for Canet and the Elfmark VDS racing team. He was out on the first lap with Zuratuza in Mugello. Out on the first lap now here in Balaton. First lap lap, which is led by Salac. Gonzalez had a superb first lap, up 2 places from 4th to 2nd, just cutting out slightly tighter inside line there on the brakes as Guevara. Oh, did he tuck the front there? I think he didn't. He just comes on through. Guevara almost wiped out the front on the Boscascoro.
It's not been a lucky corner for him. That's 2 in a row where he's had issues. On the first lap, I think he was the rider who really did have to check up and pick his bike up, with Lopez barreling up the inside, cost him the lead to Salac, and he's now behind Gonzalez, his teammate. That's Centere just running now 3rd. Guevara 4th, and under pressure from Holgado now. No great big strides made forward so far by last year's winners. Holgado now picks off Ethan Guevara. This has been a terrible second lap so far for the pole side. I was just about to say Alonso, who started in 9th place, has got himself up into 7th. He's certainly a lot higher than he was at this stage of the Grand Prix here last year when he was outside of the top 10. Still came careering through to win. So Scridge runs 8th when he was staring at the lead when he brakes for turn 1. Lopez, after all of that, is only 1 place lower than he started in 9th place. Then it's Munoz. Vietti's only gained the 1 place on the first lap. He needed to make a little bit more ground than that on lap 1 if he was to get involved in the podium battle. Yeah, Alonso Lopez just waited for everybody else to brake and then braked himself about 50 metres later, didn't he? Thankfully, nobody was caught up in that first corner drama, because there was a big melee here in Balaton on lap 1 last year. We're on board then with Guevara, who's been picked off in this second lap, hasn't he? Looking towards fellow Spaniard Dani Holgado. Salac continues to lead at the front of the race. I don't think Guevara will panic at the moment, as long as it's Salac at the front, not Manu Gonzalez, although Gonzalez, of course, would extend his World Championship lead if you put the flag out now. Lap 3 of 22. They exchange fastest laps on a 1:41.2. Gonzalez a fraction faster than the Czech out front. He has been threatening a big result, hasn't he, Blake Salac? Top 10s in his last 3. Alonso's got through on Via, so Alonso then now up into the top 6. His charge well and truly underway there. He is on the 80 bike, on the red limiter they go through turns 3 and 4. So Alonso then has found himself up into P6 now. Ivan ARUTALA is making progress from his crash in qualifying. Started in 18th place. He's gained 5 spots on the first 2 laps. ARUTALA is now up into 13th. He's a couple of spots behind Vietti. On that last lap, with a mistake at the first corner and the pickup of Dani Holgado, Ethan Guevara was the slowest rider in the top 7. He was the only rider in the top 7 in the 42s, a 42.3 from Guevara. Looking so good, looking fantastic at the front of this Grand Prix is Czech rider Filip Salac at the moment. Gonzalez seemingly quite content just to sit a little bit, 3, 4, 5, 6 bike lengths off the rear tyre of the American racing rider. And it'll be in Filip Salac's mind as much as it's in all of ours of how difficult it is to overtake around this Balaton Park circuit. So Salac will be thinking, it's all up to me now. If I make no mistakes, then it's going to force Manu Gonzalez to take some serious risks behind me to take the lead. And Manu Gonzalez with a championship mentality, 34.5 points in the lead. He's not going to try barreling up the inside of a rider chasing his first Moto2 win from too far back. They don't tend to have any issues flogging tickets for the Czech Grand Prix in Brno, do they? But if there's any tickets left, they're going to get snapped up if Filip Salac wins this Balaton Grand Prix. Put himself in a phenomenal position. He's just set, once again, the fastest lap of the race at 1:41.064. Guevara trying to find a way back through on Holgado. So Salac then came over the line just under 3/10 clear of World Champion Gonzalez. Yeah, it looks like Guevara has settled things down now in 5th place, but he's trying clear. Holgado has put his that's ARUTALA into the side of Dani Munoz, both down at turn 3. That's a nasty one, because it looks like Munoz just got sandwiched like a pincer he was there in between the 2 motorcycles. It looked like he was able to get to his feet relatively quickly, but that's a controversial one going through 3. ARUTALA trying to find his way back through. He clearly was on the inside. Wrong place, wrong time for a Taltrans rider Munoz. He is thankfully quickly back on his feet, because that could have turned nasty. Yeah, it's a corner where, of course, you're going left through 2, 3 and 4, so you're always going to want to try and carry a little bit of a wider line. Long lap penalty for Ethan Guevara. I did wonder, off the start line, because he made a poor start and then moved across towards Salac, so a tough start has got worse now for Ethan Guevara. We've seen that for Baltas and Lopez, didn't we, in Austin at the start of this season, so yeah, I mean, this is not playing out how Guevara and Blue Crew Pramac Yamaha expected at all, because the top 10 with that.
Yeah, he's going to be really struggling here. Let's have a look then. Pole position for Guevara on the 28 bike. and he just cuts across. I mean, his argument will be, there's not much I can do there with the front wheel in the air. It's just natural momentum, natural trajectory, which is moving him to that right-hand side. So probably that will be his defence for sure. But what is not up for debate is he's going to have to come through the long lap. Started another lap in the box where he's at the front of this Grand Prix. Pace is holding up behind him. Aegis and Guevara have just set PB laps.
Yeah, Guevara has now passed Holgado for that 4th place. He now needs to leg it up the road for the next 3 laps to try and build up as much time as he can before he comes back out of that long lap penalty loop. It's going to cost you a good 3 seconds. If you add 3 seconds to Guevara's time at the moment, he's dropping behind Vietti in 10th.
So the unsafe change of direction at the race starts. That is what the FIA MotoGP stewards have looked at, and they've decided to bust Guevara with the long lap penalty. We're on board then with Gonzalez. This is the battle for the victory. Gonzalez, of course, will be unaware of all the drama unfolding behind him for his chief championship rival coming into this Hungarian Grand Prix. What about Celestino Vietti, who's 3rd at the moment in the rankings? Vietti is just inside the top 10, so he could actually be taking 2nd place away from Guevara in the standings if it plays out as is.
Yep, there's a Guevara then went a little bit hot into the chicane of 9 and 10. There must be a bit of frustration and anger boiling under the helmet of Ethan Guevara at the moment. It just hasn't gone his way for a variety of reasons from the moment this Grand Prix got underway.
Yeah, when he sees long lap on his dashboard, he might be thinking, well, yeah, what the heck's that for? Don't think I've done anything wrong. So just got to keep calm here, keep his composure. Has Guevara. Have to say, though, at the moment, he's not had anything for the trio of Calexes directly ahead of him. Still Salac, who's doing a stellar job at the front of this Grand Prix. Gonzalez, though, looking very, very menacing, isn't he, Manu? Just looking like he's just playing the waiting game, playing the patient game, and just working out where Salac is strong, where he's weak, and perhaps wherever with the optimal moment. The centre Aegis finds the first 1:40 lap of this Grand Prix. That is some pace, this by Aegis. 1:40.996. That was 3/10 quicker than his teammate Gonzalez directly ahead of him.
If I was Ethan Guevara, I'd leave it until the latest possible moment to serve that long lap penalty, because they're quicker, quite comfortably quicker than the group behind. He would now probably drop out around about where Escridge and V. Lopez are in 8th and 9th. So if he could put in another fast couple of laps here before he comes up with a long lap penalty, he can limit the damage to maybe 3 or 4 places rather than the 6 that he'd lose if he drops through now.
Further down the order, nothing going again for Baltas. He's in 15th place. That's 1 place ahead of Taya Furusato, the Japanese rookie, trying to find his way into point scoring positions for the first time in Moto2. Just behind Vietti in 10th is Vanden Gorberg, Alberto Ferrandez, Jose Antonio Rueda has actually just taken Ferrandez for 12th place, so a potential 3rd successive point scoring finish coming up for the Moto3 world champion. Just getting the sense here that Gonzalez is just biding his time, isn't he? Just biding his time. Fair play to Salac. I mean, on that last lap, Salac did himself get down to a 1:41.055, so his pace is not slacking off at all.
Salac will make Manu Gonzalez work for this, make no question about that. His 85th Moto2 start. If you go back further to Moto3, it's his 135th Grand Prix start today in all classes. None of those have seen Filip Salac take the top step of the podium as a Grand Prix winner, so you're going to have to prize him out of the front of this race by his fingernails.
There's not been a Czech winner since Karel Abraham, who's here as part of the Czech TV coverage. There's a couple of commentary boxes further down is Karel. I'm sure he's having kittens right now in their commentary box, because he was the last Czech rider to win a Grand Prix at Valencia in 2010, which is a long, long time ago. The first season, of course, the final round of the first season of the Moto2 World Championship. That would be some story, wouldn't it, if in our 300th Grand Prix it is a Czech rider that finds himself back on the top step of the podium.
He'll get a guard of honour into Brno, won't he, Filip Salac, if he can hold on to this one. We're only at around 1/3 distance, though, still an awful long way to go. But what is clear is that Filip Salac has found a happy home at the American racing team, because it has been a tough couple of years. Filip Salac, of course, was on the Boscoscuro in recent times with Mark VDS, clearly so happy at American racing, and boy is he showing it.
Yeah, they need him at the moment, because at the moment Joe Roberts is misfiring somewhat on the other side of that American racing garage. Yellow flags out in turns 5 and 6. So has Colin Vyer's gone down. Yeah, Colin Vyer's having a bit of a tough time of late. That's now his 3rd DNF, or potentially he's going to try and restart this Grand Prix. If he's not able to do so, though, it would be a 3rd DNF in the last 4. He didn't finish in Le Mans. He didn't finish up the front right Catalunya. Guevara then does sweep in for his long lap penalty.
Of course, 1 place less to lose because Vyer's out of the way, and those laps he put in, those hot laps, have actually only dropped Guevara 2 places. He's only dropped behind the Aspar pair of Holgado and Alonso, so credit to Guevara there. But the hot laps he put in, he did a 41 21.2 on the last lap, faster than the leader, so not done as much damage to his race as we might have thought at the time.
Vaya's got pace, Vaya's got speed, but he's not seeing enough checker flags, is he, at the moment? The promising Netherlands teenager. This is where he's going to bail out, tucking the front into turn 5. That's such an easy mistake to make when you're trying to gain time, when you're trying to get close to riders ahead of you to make moves. So easily done just to get sucked into the hard braking zones. Once again, Gonzalez just eats up a bit of time in the braking for that tight first corner. Salac once again, it's another 141 flat from the Czech rider. As mentioned a couple of laps ago, that his pace is just not slacking off at all. If Manu Gonzalez is going to win a third successive Moto2 race in 2026, he's going to be pushed all the way to the flag, it looks like, by Salac.
Yeah, and Gonzalez probably won't know at this stage where KIVEE is, and the fact that he's had a long lap penalty, but with KIVEE 6th, Gonzalez 2nd, he would extend his championship lead by a further 10 points. It would be 44.5 points. It's very early in the season to be thinking, I'll set up a second place, but Gonzalez will know full well that the rider ahead of him is not a title threat.
Back-to-back DNFs for ARUTALA. There you can see, look at Vietti have a big power slide, and then on the inside he will say, well,
where else can I go?
Yeah, I was leaning over to the left. I didn't really see Munoz fully in my peripheral vision.
Of course, if he checks up and backs out of it, then someone's going to run into the back of him, isn't he? So ARUTALA, I think, was kind of in an invidious position there. Could he go forwards? Could he go backwards? In the end, he ran into the side of Munoz.
I think the marshals did a fantastic job there, because we had a bit of a Balaton barbecue for ARUTALA's motorcycle. They have quickly been able to extinguish that at the front. Filip Salac, still your race leader, capitalising on that third front row start in the last 4 to get the whole shot, and he has not looked back so far, because if he does so, he'll get a face full of the World Championship leader, Manu Gonzalez. Let's just check once again. 44.1 from Salac, 44.1 from Gonzalez, 44.1 from Aegis. Quickest rider of the top 4 on that previous circuit. His PB lap came in from Holgado, who was about 9/10 clear of his Aspar teammate Alonso.
Yeah, top 4 all in the low 41s. Alonso at the moment doesn't have the pace to go with the top 4 up ahead of him. Alonso will be hoping that his famed late race pace will still bring him into contention here. But a lot of work to do from 5th place, and KIVEE, having rejoined from his long laps, doing 41.4s, so he's just under a second behind Alonso, but comfortably clear of the Lopez-Vietti-Escreech battle behind him.
A bit of a helping hand from Colin Via, reluctantly so. Tayo Furusato is on course for his first Moto2 World Championship point scoring finish, and a cracking ride down in 14th place. He's the former Honda teenager Moto3 start. He's ahead of Tony Arbolino, who's having a real tough time at the moment, is he, for Fantic Racing. Jose Antonio Rueda shining once again, the Moto3 World Champion, just outside of the top 10 in 11th place.
Behind KIVEE at the moment, as we ride on board with him, is Alonso Lopez, who I guess can technically say he led the Hungarian Grand Prix for all of about 20 metres before he sailed wide at the first corner. He came through qualifying one yesterday, did Lopez, so he has recovered his weekend, to be fair, from what was a fairly poor Friday. Vietti not really able to do anything about him at the moment in that 8th place, and of course, much like KIVEE, it's Vietti too who's also losing a chunk of points at the moment to Manu Gonzalez.
With the pace wedged in those low 141s, it just means that Senna Aegis can make no significant inroads back towards Salac and Gonzalez. It's pretty much as you were. But Filip Salac, well, this is superb by the Czech star. He now has got himself into the 140s. Second rider in the Grand Prix to dip into the 140s. Aegis did it a few laps ago, didn't he? But Filip Salac sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 140.911. You have to say, though, Manu Gonzalez just looks like the epitome of cool, calm, collected. He's got ice running through his veins, as the Manu Gonzalez. Just looks like it'll be a matter of time before he will feel like, well, now's the time to stop. We're not even a half race distance yet.
He's asking Filip Salac to do something that he's never done in his Grand Prix career, not just to win a Grand Prix, but to lead it from the front, lap after lap, to put in that relentless consistency of high 140s, low 141s. We've seen all weekend through practice that Manu Gonzalez is plenty capable of lapping at that pace over and over again. He's asking the question of Filip Salac, can you go another 12 laps on this pace without a single mistake? If you can't, I'm ready to pounce.
Let's hope it is not 3 DNFs in full for Colin Via. He has rejoined this Grand Prix, as we saw him attempting to do so. So he is at least back on the road. Looking back to the 96 bike of Holgado, he's got it all onto get back on the podium here in Balaton. He's 1.5 seconds adrift of Aegis. David Alonso, his teammate, still in 5th. Now, we saw last year here in Balaton a stunning second half charge from David Alonso. He needs another one because he's the thick end of 4 seconds behind your race leader Salac.
Yeah, and he's 2.5 off the podium positions at the moment. Vietti has now made his way through on Alonso Lopez, past him, I would assume, into the turn 9 and 10 chicane. Huge group behind him, which is now being led by the second of the Blue Crew Boscoscoros, with Alberto Ferrandez. Here he is on the 54. He's up into 9th place, but this battle is the rest of the point scorers.
It's on to Van den Gorberg. He's scored points in 2 of the last 3. So this is as high as up we've seen the Netherlands rider for a fair time. Alex Screws there right in this mix as well. Back at the front, 41.3 on that last lap from Salac, which was probably, aside from his standing start on lap 1, the slowest lap of the Grand Prix so far from the American racing start.
Lovely move that from Rueda up the inside of Van den Gorberg, the Moto3 champion, now up into 11th place. That's Baltus and Forasato also at the back of the picture. Forasato on the 72 bike. Rueda now through on a screech who looked like he was struggling to stop that forward. So Rueda's taken 2 riders in 3 corners and he's now into the top 10.
He's getting a bit duffed up at the moment, isn't he, Screech? You want to keep a check on your lead group. You can see Salac and Gonzalez in the top left-hand corner of your screens, as you were between those two. Just out of shot is Senna Aegis, who's been sort of 8 or 9 tenths off the rear tyre of his teammate Gonzalez for, what, 7 or 8 laps now. He's matching the pace of his team. Again, Gonzalez and Aegis, 1:41.1s. But when the it's not static pace, but when the times are static in terms of what they're producing, it means that there's just Aegis cannot cut the gap, can he?
Even in Moto 2, it is still an issue with the temperature and pressure of your front tyre going through the roof, so might be a decent strategy for Gonzalez here, just to sit 3-4 tenths off the race leader and just wait for your moment later on in the race. This is now around about half distance. We've completed 11 of 22 laps here as we ride on board with Manu Gonzalez. He's so close he can read the name of the rider he's chasing, Salac, on the back of the leathers of the Czech up front. Gonzalez, how much longer does he wait? How patient is he prepared to be in 2nd place here?
Yeah, he's well on course to be the first rider since Fermin Aldeguer on that golden run at the end of 2023 to win 3 on the spin. Only 13 riders have done that previously in Moto 2. He's getting in a bit close here. That was tight. What a time to ride on board that was with the World Championship leader, as he almost ploughed into the back of Salac on the wrong run down into turn 5. Yeah, Alex Screech is starting to suffer here. Screech now is back in 15th. Here goes Gonzalez. That is the optimal time then. He has decided this is his moment. Through he goes then on Philip Salac into the chicane in 9 and 10. And is that game over for Gonzalez? He would be 44.5 points clear of Guevara in the championship. Philip Salac, what have you got?
Yeah, it was almost like Manu Gonzalez set his stopwatch. The alarm went off. Right now is the moment to pounce. Got a huge run on him, didn't he? Through 7 and 8 and just straight up the inside into turn 9. And Philip Salac, certainly at that particular moment, had no answer. And is Manu Gonzalez now going to crank the pace up, crank the pressure up on Philip Salac?
Salac must have known that was coming. He'd have heard that calyx behind him as they braked into turn 5. It was a great time to ride on board with Manu Gonzalez, who at the moment is just proving so many massive points about 2027 and beyond, because as it stands at the moment, despite a few murmurings linking in with a couple of potential MotoGP seats, at the moment there's no rock solid concrete news about whether Manu Gonzalez will have a spot on the new 850cc Power MotoGP grid next year. I mean, it just seems like he's on a one-man mission to show MotoGP, do not ignore me. Like Cal Crutchlow, don't ignore me.
It's hard to ignore Manu Gonzalez at the moment with the form he's putting in. He is racing away from the front of the Moto2 World Championship at the moment with Guevara down in 6th. There's a battle building up between the Aspar duo for 4th and 5th now. We are now starting to see David Alonso demonstrate his potential and his performance in the second half of a race, which we are now in. Alonso was the next fastest rider behind the intact pair of Gonzalez and Aegis last time around. He's now right behind his teammate Holgado for 4th.
Been nothing from the Aspar duo in terms of a podium threat so far. It's been all about these three, hasn't it, at the front. We saw briefly Ethan Guevara in the mix after his early dramas. But Holgado is 2.5 seconds behind Aegis. He's about half a second in turn up the road ahead of Alonso. Whatever happens from this point onward, it's been an absolutely brilliant performance by Salach. Coming into this Balaton Grand Prix, he'd only ever led 3 laps before in Moto 2. So what, he led 11 of the first 12. Superb this. Is it game over already? Manu Gonzalez, it looks like it is, just starting already to stretch out his legs and stretch a lead, which very, very soon will be about 3/4 of a second.
It's going to be more than that to come across the line. It's about 6/10, but a personal best lap. Gonzalez, with empty tarmac ahead of him, dropped straight into the 140s once again. Manu Gonzalez has everything under control at the moment, doesn't he? Not just in this race, but in the Moto 2 World Championship.
Well, he mullered them in Mugello 7 days ago with one of the most dominant performances in Moto 2 ever at the Italian Grand Prix. Had he not rolled out of it late on, he would have won by north of 6 seconds. And he's inflicting some more big punishment as well. He runs wide coming out of turn 4 onto the green paint. Another massive, massive day coming in terms of World Championship for Gonzalez, because he is the leader. 25 maximum points potentially going his way. And with Ethan Guevara still in 6th place, a relatively safe 6th spot, although credit to Guevara, he's just had his best lap of the Grand Prix so far with a 141.099. Potentially 10 more points going the way here, at least, of Gonzalez.
The race is getting worse for the forward team. We've got a Scridge falling down the order like an elevator with the cable cut. He's down in 19th place now, and his teammate Xavi Zurutuza has been given a long lap penalty for exceeding track limits once too many. He's down in 22nd place.
Centre Aegis must be sick of the sights of seeing +0.8 to Salach or Gonzalez, because that's where he's been stuck for the whole of this Grand Prix. Bragging rights at stake here in Hungary for the Aspar duo. All of a sudden Alonso has jumped all over the rear tyre of Danny Holgado. Has Alonso got time and the late race pace he demonstrated so brilliantly here last August to get himself maybe back into the podium battle? It's a big, big ask, because Centre Aegis is just reeling off 41-1s, 41-2s for fun in 3rd.
Credit to Salach, he responded with a 41-1. He was actually slightly quicker than Gonzalez on the last lap, so he's not giving up on this one just yet. Nico Tirol and Jorge Martinez Aspar will be, I guess, a little bit edgy watching this, because it is fair to say that in their time as teammates in Moto 2, that Holgado and Alonso have got a history for running into each other.
Who saw this coming? The prospect of going to round 9 in the World Championship, still awaiting a potential first podium of the campaign for David Alonso, who pre-season was many people's picks to be favourite to run away with this year's World Championship. Zurutuza, confirmation on your screens, he's got a long lap penalty to serve. Well, Alex Screech is suffering some kind of major issue. He's doing mid-44s at the moment, Screech. On the last lap he lost places to Huerta, Sasaki and Onju. He's now in 20th place, Screech.
As Alonso having a look there at Holgado. We saw a lot of moves from Alonso last year into 9 and 10. They're side by side at the top of the picture, but it is Holgado still ahead as we get confirmation that Barry Baltzis is the latest now to receive a long lap penalty. He's running in 12th position, and looking at where he is at the moment, that will drop him to the back of that group behind his team at Arbolino and Forasato.
Well, who says lightning does not strike twice? Barry Baltzis took the checker flag 12 here last year, having to serve a long lap for exceeding track limits. So it's deja vu as far as the Belgian goes.
Manu Gonzalez, the World Championship leader and race leader, he's now been given a track limits warning. So something that the points leader has to be a little bit careful of and keep in his mind now, with still 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix. And Salach is certainly not letting him run away with it. Yet again, consecutive laps that the 12 was faster than the 18. So Gonzalez hasn't got this sewn up yet.
Yeah, this is smart by Salach, because he's got a front row seat. He'll see the fact that Gonzalez keeps touching the green, and he'll think, well, if I can keep this pressure on, push him into a few more mistakes, well, there might be a long lap penalty coming their way here for Manu Gonzalez, who's going to have to be picture perfect in the final stages of this Balaton battle. Some battle that's still raging, and the blue on blue between 96 and 80 in Aspar. Still Holgado is resisting Alonso. You can just see there moving out of your picture on this run down to turn 5 is Guevara. Hasn't been his day at all from pole position. the long lap penalty to serve after the unsafe change of direction as he launched from that pole. That was deemed by the FIM MotoGP stewards. When all things considered, as Alonso tries to go side by side with Holgado into the chicane, that's not going to work out. I think if Guevara from a long lap penalty, all the problems he's had so far this weekend, technical-wise, still going to be pretty satisfied with 6.
Yeah, it would be a decent damage limitation job. He's been in the top 7 in every Grand Prix, and the pace he's had since serving that long lap, I don't think he would have been able to match Gonzalez, Salach and Aegis at the front of the race. He certainly would have been ahead of this battle between Holgado and Alonso. So Guevara not under any pressure from behind either, with Vietti some 4.5 seconds further back.
In terms of the championship, Guevara and Vietti have just signed up for the Philip Salach fan club. They're going to be desperate to see if Salach can somehow find his way back through on Gonzalez, snatch 5 extra points away from the Spanish rider. And again, Salach, for 3 or 4 laps now, he's been in those high 140s. Now, Manu Gonzalez is being severely tested here. This is a big examination of the world championship leader. He cannot break Salach at all.
There's a mistake, as Holgado has been broken by David Alonso. Alonso didn't in the end have to outbrake Danny Holgado, because Holgado outbraked himself into turn 1. How much extra pace has Alonso now got? Not sure he's got the time, though, to chase down Senna Aegis with 3 seconds to make up and only 6 laps to do it in.
Yeah, this looks like a given that Salach is going to be on his first podium in 33 Grand Prix since Motegi at the end of 2024. Some performance this, some ride. Surely one of the best drive performances we've seen in his Grand Prix career from Philip Salach. Not too many riders in 2026 have taken the challenge, have gone toe-to-toe with Manu Gonzalez. Salach has on this occasion, although for the first time he's just slipped over half a second behind Manu Gas, halfway round this lap 17 of 22.
Yeah, Gonzalez has to be fast but also precise. He also cannot afford to drift onto the green and exceed track limits a couple more times, because a long lap penalty would quite obviously deny him a 3rd consecutive victory. Gonzalez, though, he's so good in these Moto2 battles, leading from the front, at just riding to a pace he knows he can do, riding within his limit rather than riding over his limit. That is the challenge in front of the points leader right now.
Massive day in terms of the championship coming the way as well for Gonzalez. Coming into this Grand Prix, his 34.5 point lead was the biggest after 7 rounds in 11 seasons since Johan Zarco in 2015, and he is now hammered down. Manu Gonzalez has started to really push Philip Salach. A 1:40.893 from Gonzalez, then fastest lap of this Grand Prix. That's why he was able to jump out half a second clear of the Czech rider.
And they've totally dropped Aegis now, who's doing mid-41s in a very lonely 3rd place. Alonso, now he's cleared Holgado. He was some 6/10 quicker than him on the last lap, but only 2/10 quicker than Aegis, so he's not going to be able to launch much of an attack on Aegis for that first podium of the season.
Arbolino just taken 12th from Zonta van den Gorberg. Joe Roberts has just picked off Luca Lunetta. So Salach's American racing colleague finally up into the point scoring places. Further down, Alex Escreed is still stuck down in 20th place. He has slightly regrouped, and he's lapping a lot faster than 2 or 3 laps ago when he was marooned in the 44s.
Arbolino should gain another one shortly. We're still awaiting the long lap penalty for Barry Baltus, who's just passed Rueda for 10th, but it's a bit of a forlorn challenge that from Barry Baltus, because he's soon going to have to come through the long lap at turn 11, and he'll give up that place in the top 10.
This has been such a great ride, hasn't it, by Salach? Such a phenomenal performance. He has been building his confidence back on a Kalex chassis, of course, this year. He had his troubles with Mark Vidias and the Boscascora last year. This is why American Racing gave him the chance to stay on the Moto2 grid. Rueda's back inside that top 10. He's having a cracking ride, Jose Antonio Rueda. I think it's that Barry Baltus has taken his long lap penalty. I presume that's why Rueda's shuffled up inside the top 10.
Baltus has rejoined from that in 13th place, a 40.9 for Salach on that last lap. So Gonzalez squeezed in, tried to put that extra injection of pace in to drop Salach. He was again unsuccessful, so one mistake could still cost everything here for Manu Gonzalez.
Feels like Salach has done the most 40s in this Grand Prix, doesn't it? He's been able to reel them off lap after lap after lap. It's been brilliant, this by Salac. Alonso's getting on with business as well. He's down to a 1:41.119. His best lap of the Grand Prix. Second year in a row then there's potentially late fireworks coming from the Colombian, and this is a bit of trouble maybe brewing for ages, because on that last lap Alonso was 7/10 quicker than the Aussie.
Yeah, 41.8 for Aegis on that last lap. That kind of pace won't cut it in the final 4 laps if Alonso continues in the low 41, so maybe he isn't out of the podium reckoning just yet. We follow the 18 then through the chicane of 9 and 10, and a big second sector for Manuel Gonzalez, responding to that 1:40.9 of Salac. He's now trying to deal the final blow to Salac's victory hopes.
Alonso's found more time halfway around this lap 19, 2.2 seconds. He started this lap behind Aegis. That's now down to just 1.8 seconds. Aegis from Sydney in Australia, he turns 21 on Tuesday, trying to gate crash the early party. Here is Alonso, isn't he? Let's just check the gap between those two now through sector 3. What's it come down to? Has it stabilised? He's down to 1.7. Yeah, Alonso is starting to make big progress towards the Aussie.
Yeah, 3 laps to go at the end of this one. Gonzalez, I think, now has got this one firmly sealed up. I think this is going to be another 140 for Manuel Gonzalez. It comes across, it's a 40.929 for Manuel Gonzalez. He's seen the challenge of Philip Salac behind him. He's responded. Surely now, with 3 laps to go, Salac can offer nothing.
Sure, he will be the first rider since Saldaguer's purple patch at the end of 2023 to win 3 on the spin. Last time a rider took 5 successive Moto2 podiums was Aldaguer. He had that sensational ending to 2023, which earned him, of course, a seat in the Gresini Ducati team in MotoGP. Aegis, 1.6 seconds he is clear of Alonso, who once again is flying late on here in Balaton. Successive PB laps from the number 80. Here he is, hard on the brakes into turn 5. Successive laps, he's taken 7/10 out of Aegis ahead of him.
It's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it, for David Alonso, because he's so good at the end of the races, but in turn he's so poor, relatively speaking, in the early part of races and in qualifying. He really should have been higher up the grid than 6th, and he shouldn't have been in that position to have to try and chase down Aegis late on. But those are the strengths and weaknesses that the Colombian has on a Moto2 bike right now. So good at the end of